What's going on, people? Welcome back to Curtis Shaw TV. Back with another match preview. Arsenal against Wolves, or Wolves against Arsenal. In fact, they're the home team. So I got a special guest, Dave from Talking Wolves is here. How you doing, bruv?
Yeah, I'm all good, mate. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you coming on, man. Obviously, you came on earlier in the season and you spoke well. I got good comments about it, so I thought, let me get you back on here. But it's I don't know. It hasn't been the best of seasons for either one of us, man. I expected big things probably for both of us this season, and I think we're 10th, you're 14th. What have you made so far of the season for Wolves in general?
Yeah, it's been really disappointing, man. Like you said, I think we're expecting big things after two good seasons in the Premier League, finishing seventh both seasons, getting to the Europa League last 8 as well last year. This year's been really, really poor, man. We just not got any sort of consistency going whatsoever, and we're winless in 8 now in the league. You know, our last 2 wins are against yourselves and Chelsea. And since then, we haven't won in the league. So yeah, things aren't looking too good. And this is a big game for Wolves, really. If we lose tonight and results go against us, we could be 17th by the end of the week, which is scary. Which is scary, really. Yeah, I'm just hoping. You know, we've had trouble with injuries. Obviously, that Jimenez had that bad injury against you guys, and I just don't think we've really recovered from that. We've not had a proper striker at all since then. So yeah, it's not looking good at the moment, but fingers crossed, we can turn it around sooner rather than later.
Do you think then, like, that Raul Jimenez injury, obviously he got that against Arsenal as well, do you think that's coincided with your dip in form? Because every time I watch Wolves at the moment, you look like you're not going to score a goal, if you're there all night. I think you've got Fabio Silva, is it, the young lad? He looks technically good, but a little bit lightweight. I think you've got Willian Jose, and he's got a bit of pedigree about him, to be fair. But do you think it's the Jimenez injury that's really held you back this season?
Yeah, 100%. I think he was. We relied on him a lot the last 2 years, and then I think at the start of the season when we sold Jota, I don't think anyone realised how crucial that would be. After Project Restart, he'd sort of slipped down to third or fourth choice winger. Yeah, and so when we sold him, I thought everyone sort of understood the signing, the sale of Jota. But since then, I think we've sort of missed him quite a lot. Obviously, he started off really well for Liverpool, but that loss of Jimenez is massive for us. Obviously, he had such a busy run in Christmas, and like you said, Fabio Silva was the only striker that we had coming in from Porto, from a different country, 18, 19 years of age, with a world like it is now. He's never going to be, set the world alight straight away. Yeah. And like you say, we signed Willian Jose, but he's only started 1 game since we've signed him. So I think he'll start again tonight, but we need him to try and hit the ground running as soon as possible, really.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I've got a good friend who plays in the Premier League, and he was saying to me that this season is very difficult for players to come from abroad and settle because they can't explore the city. They can't get to know the place. They're just locked up in a hotel room or their house. So I think, when you're bringing in, and obviously Wolves bring a lot of players in from Portugal and places like that. So it's very difficult for them to settle in, isn't it? And when they come in.
Yeah, I mean, with no fans as well, sometimes you got a new player. If the fans are supporting them, chanting their name straight away, they can settle down a little bit more. We've seen it a lot with Chelsea as well. Chelsea bringing a lot of boys in from Germany, and they've just really struggled to settle. They might start doing all right now. They've got a German manager, but like we've had that, a young lad, like I say, coming into a brand new country, not able to go around the city, never playing in front of the fans yet. It's going to be difficult. So, Wolves really need to start scoring goals. And like you say, the last few games, we just haven't looked like scoring. We shut up shop. We parked the bus against Chelsea and we held on for a 0-0 draw. And then we played the same sort of system against Palace. Probably didn't defend as deep, but still just never looked like scoring, really. So that's our main concern at the moment. But if we attack too much, we look too leaky at the back. But if we sit back too much, we don't look like we've got anything going forward. So it's a hard one for Nuno at the moment.
It's crazy because at the weekend I put a bet on. I do like both teams to score bet.
Yeah.
And I saw Palace against Wolves. I thought, they've both got decent attacks. So I put the bet on. And then I looked at your form and it was like, oh no, what have I done here? And I watched the game and I was like, they're just not going to score, are they? Like, and I thought, I don't know what's happened because I watched Wolves last year. You was exciting. You were scoring goals. And this year, I mean, I mean, it's easy to pinpoint Jimenez's injury, but what's happening with the wide players and the midfielders? Why are they not contributing?
It's well, like you say, like last year or the last 2 years, really, especially against the big boys, we did like to sit back and defend, but at the same time, our counter attack was scary, and I think
Yeah,
Arsenal saw that, Chelsea saw that. We did it a couple of times against Liverpool, Manchester United. You know, we gave them all really good games. This year, I don't know what it is, unless we've just run out of energy from last year. Like Moutinho is just nowhere near as good as he's been. It's a shame, really. So he's
yeah,
just offered nothing. I mean, he started on Saturday, and I was really disappointed with him in the middle.
yeah,
And because we sold Matt Doherty, obviously, defensively at times we had question marks over his performances, but you could get the ball, you could attack, and he'd always be in the box for you. You'd always have that extra body in the box. We're missing
yeah,
Johnny as well, who was injured, our main left wing back. So we brought in
yeah,
like the likes of Nelson Semedo, and then on the left-hand side, we've got the young lad, Nori, but they're just, like we just said, they're players coming in from abroad, and they're just not really settled, I don't think.
yeah,
But there's just not enough confidence or energy at Wolves at the moment. It's a shame, really. We just don't look like scoring.
mm,
The only game we looked like scoring was against Brighton. We went 3-1 up at half time, and then we shut up shop and bottled the game and drew 3-3,
yeah,
which
yeah,
was a shame, because if we carried on attacking like we were, Brighton was so shaky. Adama was giving Dan Burn nightmares. We could have scored 4, 5, 6 goals.
yeah, yeah.
But Nuno just went ultra negative in the second half, which was a shame. But I think that's what we were so desperate for a win at the time. I felt that's what he had to do. So that's what I think we're lacking, a lot of confidence at the moment as a team.
I think I saw that game. Was that where that guy missed like a chance in the last second? Like missed
Yeah, the header over the bar,
the
yeah,
header.
off to Sawi,
Oh
yeah,
my God,
yeah.
you can't be missing them.
No.
South London's finest says Neves hasn't come to the party this season. What's happening with Neves? He was being linked with Man City, and then I'm seeing him on the bench and that. What's going on?
Yeah, the Neves one's weird, really, because obviously when we was in the Championship, he was unbelievable, and you used to see like
Yeah.
every other week he'd score a screamer or whatever.
Mm.
Yeah, in the Premier League, in terms of goals, it's quieting down a little bit. I still rate Neves very highly. I think he's been, believe it or not, he's probably been one of our best midfielders this season. I think, unfortunately, for Neves, because of his reputation in the Championship, he's almost a bit like a match of the day sort of player, or people think he's a match of the day sort of player. Like, he's always going to show up on match of the day when he scores some great goals or whatever. But he's playing a lot more defensive this year. But I still rate him very highly. I think his work rate's great. Us as fans still can't understand why he's not, Moutinho is still getting starts ahead of him. But he's still having a good amount of game time. Unfortunately, he didn't play on Saturday. I think he was on the bench on Saturday, but his wife gave birth to their new child or his wife, fiance, gave birth in Portugal to their new child. So I'm not sure if that was a reason why he didn't play on Saturday. But it's one of those. I think Wolves fans rate Neves highly, probably higher than João Moutinho at the moment, and I'd probably expect him to start against Arsenal tonight.
It's funny here. I mean, Scouse Mike said, "Don't worry, Dave. We usually give teams who are down and out a free win." You know what I mean?
I hope so.
Even like Benteke, he don't score for 6 months, plays Arsenal, scores after 5 minutes. It's typical. Big up Broads. He said, "How good was Matt Doherty? Because at Spurs he's not been doing it." What do you make of Doherty?
Yeah. Doc was really good. Like, he'd been at the club years. Like, he would been at the club the last time we were in the Premier League, so over 10 years. And he'd really kicked on under Nuno as a right wing back. He was messed about a little bit a couple of years beforehand, to be fair. And he really kicked on. Look, defensively, he was poor, I'd say. But get in front of goal, he'd score and contribute so much. And him and Jimenez had a great understanding. And I think that right hand side of Adama and Doc did really well last year. When the bid came in, it was accepted by Spurs. I was surprised. I thought the amount was really poor, really low as well. But at the same, I think Spurs have found out as a right back, he's much better as a right wing back. I think even Mick McCarthy said it as Ireland manager. He wasn't picking Doherty, and no one could understand. And Mick McCarthy said he's a good right wing back, but I don't think he's a good right back. And that's why he wasn't getting starts for Ireland. And I think Spurs have found that out, really, unfortunately, for Doc. But yeah, good player in the right system. But I think like a lot of Wolves players are all system players, like Cody. I don't think Cody could walk into any other team, really, and do quite the job he's done at Wolves.
I just want to talk quickly about your wingers. Adama Traore, again, another player. They were talking about £70 million moves for him. And I'm watching him this year and I'm like, I don't know. He looks a bit all over the place every time I watch him. Like, what? Has he had a fallout with the manager? I remember last time he said something about a contract dispute.
Yeah.
What's the
So obviously
situation?
last year, I had the season of his life. Really, last year,
Yeah,
he was unbelievable. Just really, really, so quick, and his contributions were much, much better last year. And this year, he started off obviously playing as a right wing back because we didn't have one right at the start of the season. And then because our two wingers in Neto and Podence had started off quite well, Adama was sat on the bench.
yeah,
And it was said the Wolves wanted to give him a new contract. Obviously, I don't know all the ins and outs, but Wolves apparently wanted to give him a new contract, and his demands were a lot more than what Wolves wanted to pay. I think he's still got 2 or
yeah.
3 years left on his current one, to be fair.
Okay.
Um, and then he wasn't playing, and the reason apparently he wasn't signing a new contract was because, well, he felt that Wolves weren't playing him because he wouldn't sign a new contract with the club, which again they rubbished that off quite quickly. But he's just so lazy off the ball, man. It's so
Yeah,
frustrating to watch. It's so frustrating to watch it, but you just don't know when he's going to turn up. Like a couple of weeks ago against Palace in the cup, he was unbelievable, and Palace just could not get the ball and could not touch him. Brighton as well, he ran them ragged, won a penalty late in the first half. But
yeah,
then other games, just like he's just stood there, and I'm just like, if you're gonna move, his movement off the ball is non-existent. And if
yeah,
he could move and he was a lot more clever in his play, genuinely, we could get 70 million for him if he
yeah,
played on the
yeah,
last man. And he never does that. He plays deep, and with someone of his pace, I would always put him on the last man.
yeah,
And he just doesn't do that. So, yeah, frustrating, really. You just don't, if he starts, you just don't know which Adama Traore is going to turn up. And we've had more bad days than good days, I think, this season, unfortunately. There were rumours in January that clubs are still looking at him. And like you say, the 70 million price tag went quickly down to about 30 million. I even spoke to a Wolves fan last week that said he would sell him for 10 million, which a lot of Wolves fans thought was ridiculous. But
yeah. That's too
yeah, after, there were a lot of fans, I think, watched him last year, and some fans were like, wow, he's brilliant. And some fans were like, I still don't understand the hype with him. So unfortunately,
Yeah,
again, I think a bit like Neves, he's probably one of those sort of match of the day sort of highlight players where, you could watch a
yeah,
few
yeah.
YouTube videos and think he's the best thing since sliced bread. But if you actually watch him week in, week out, sometimes off the ball, he's just a bit suspect.
What have you made of Arsenal this season? I always like to get, fans' perspective on how they see us. I've been very critical of our manager this season, although I've calmed down a little bit now. What have you made of Arsenal from the outside?
Yeah, I think like a lot of you guys knew the start of the season didn't quite go to plan for you guys. I think you look at the games just before the season, like the Community Shield and stuff. I
Yeah,
think you guys are probably rubbing your hands together, thinking, this could be a good
season.
season.
Yeah,
And that was the same as Wolves. To be fair, we started off okay at the start of the season. I thought, here we go, and it just hasn't gone to plan. But yeah, I think Arsenal, rightly so. Arsenal fans. I think I said it to you. No disrespect to them. I suppose it's the same as all football clubs. We just want what's best for the club, and when you're a club as big as Arsenal, and you're not quite getting the results you're expecting. There's going to be a lot of pressure on him. So I think fair play to the board for sort of, sticking with him for the time being, because I think slowly but surely, he's starting to turn it around for you guys. And, I think another summer window, hopefully when the world starts to get back to normal and, finances start to rise, you might be able to get some big players in, really. So,
yeah.
I think things are slowly improving for you guys. I think you could make, that late dash towards the top six. It's still close, even top four, if you can get a good run of consistency going.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to just quickly look at this. Is the table? I mean, it's crazy when you look at it. I mean, Wolves down in. I mean, let me find it down in 14th there.
Yeah.
No win in your last 5. Only 21 goals scored this season. 30 conceded. I mean, you're 8 points behind Arsenal. I mean, at the start of the season, you would have never expected Wolves to be in that position, would you?
No, well, like I say, it's not just the last 5; it's the last 8 we haven't won in now, and the last win was against Chelsea, which I think was 2 games after we played you guys.
Yeah,
And yeah, we're just unfortunately for Wolves, last season we were drawing a lot more games, so it was a
yeah,
lot more respectable.
yeah,
And at the start of the season, I said, because Wolves still play quite defensive. At the start of the season, I said there was all this talk about Wolves playing a lot more possession-based football, a lot more attacking football, and I said
yeah,
I don't mind us playing more attacking football. If we're going to get more wins, but at the same time, we've got to expect more losses because
yeah.
if
Keep it
we
going.
if you get 10 draws,
Yeah.
but you can change that to 5 more wins and 5 more losses as points
Yeah.
total, you're going to have a lot more points. So I said I
Yeah.
didn't mind that, but unfortunately, we are losing a lot more games than we are winning
Yeah.
or drawing at the moment. And the goal, like we last year, we prided ourselves on good defensive displays. We haven't kept, Chelsea was the first league clean sheet we kept in ages.
Yeah.
So yeah, the league table doesn't look good. And I mean, you could probably scroll it down a little bit more, and you can see the guys that are 15th, 16th, 17th.
Yeah.
They're right behind us. So it's
Yeah.
worrying,
Yeah.
really.
I mean, even with us, I mean, I know people say we've had a bit of a turnaround, but we're 10th in the league. And you look, nearly every team has got games in hand on us. I mean, Southampton can go above us, Leeds can go above us. We could be 12th, you know. So
Yeah,
he has turned it around slightly, but that start of the season, we've lost 8 games. And I remember that Wolves game actually earlier in the season, and I was fuming after that game because I remember you apologies, you went 2-1 up, and then you just kind of sat there and said, just put crosses in then. And that's when we was
yeah.
20, 30 crosses in. You're like, Aubameyang is not good in the air. Why are we playing like this? It was such a terrible game, that game at the Emirates.
Yeah, I mean, that game was probably one of the last attacking displays we saw from Wolves. Like, they showed no fear going forward. We saw Podence
Yeah.
and Neto run riot, really. And Adama had an all right game, I think, as well. Which, overall, it was a surprise because after such a horrific injury to the one, that Raul had in that game, I thought, we're not going to be up for this at all. There's going to be something in our mindset which just isn't going to drag us over the line, but we did. It was a really, really good result, and probably one of our best results so far of the season. It's just a shame that it's been so long and we haven't even touched the levels of that performance since then.
Do you know what? A lot of after that game, I really started to take notice about your 2 wingers, because I mean, Neto and in particular that night, he ripped Bellerin apart. Out of Neto and is it Podence? Who's the best one out of them 2 in your opinion? Because I rate both of them, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd probably say Neto out of the 2. Podence he's just come back from a small injury. He's had an injury for the last few weeks, sort of since just after Christmas, and he's come back in the more recent games, and hopefully he can sort of start to get his sharpness back. But Neto has come on leaps and bounds. We signed him at the start of last year, and like I said, he was behind Jota for a lot of last year. But he just sort of grew and carried on growing, and this year he was just sort of exploded, and he's been our best player in a poor season, really. But he's just so quick and powerful on the ball, and he's got a really, I think the only one thing he's got to improve, if he can, is his goal contributions. If he can start getting 1 or 2 goals, I think it'd be fantastic. But genuinely, I think, unless Wolves start to improve their league standard and so on, I think, he could easily look for a much bigger club in the summer. It wouldn't surprise me to see some of the Premier League big boys or the likes of like Juventus and so on looking at him as a long-term Ronaldo replacement. I know how crazy that sounds, but he's a very, very talented young player.
Yeah. I see a lot of Arsenal fans were calling for him. Broad said, considering the changes made over the last few years, do you feel Wolves are living up to their potential? I mean, what is the expectation among your fan base? Where do you think you should be?
Well, unfortunately, the last couple of years, because we've done so well, the expectations are like sky high at the moment. It's ridiculous, really. But I think, unfortunately for the board, they put a lot of pressure on themselves. They came in with Wolves, and as most new ownerships do, they sort of set themselves targets. And I think they wanted Wolves to be in the Premier League after sort of 3 years or 4 years, and they did that in 2. And then, they were talking about aspirations, about, spending the money and becoming, on that sort of Manchester City level, so I think they've put a lot of pressure on themselves there straight away. But for Wolves, you look at Nuno, came in the first season, won the Championship, second season, 7th place, last season, 7th place. So now he's set himself a level. So this season, where we're down in 14th and we're out of the Carabao Cup and just not performing very well in the league, he's put so much pressure on himself. And then fans now are looking at it and thinking, why isn't he performing? There are some fans, I know some Arsenal fans might find this crazy. There's some fans that want Nuno out because they're just not happy with how things are going at the moment. But unfortunately, that's football. When you've set yourself, that target, or
High standards.
Exactly, high standards. You set yourself a standards of finishing 7th 2 years in a row, And now you're sort of 7 places below that and not even touching that sort of points total. Fans are starting to get concerned. But the thing is, Curtis, the football isn't even showing, us any sort of it's not giving us anything really. It's been really, really disappointing.
It's mad because, considering I've called for my own manager this time, this season. But from the outside, I look at Wolves, I think I wouldn't get rid of him. I think he's earned the right to have maybe a season where it doesn't quite work.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Raul Jimenez as well. It was just, I think he was so key to your team. There was a rumor going around, and quite a strong rumor, that apparently George Mendes had a meeting with Arsenal at the end of November to say, what's the situation with Arteta and potentially move Nuno across. Do you think Nuno, number one, do you think he would have taken that Arsenal job? And do you think maybe he's becoming a little bit stale at Wolves, or do you think they needed more players? What do you think the situation is with the manager?
It was weird because I'm pretty sure he's been linked with Arsenal a few times before. I remember somebody said it wasn't really well reported, but when Wenger left, apparently, Arsenal looked at him, but that wasn't ever really well documented. Then was it after Emery? I think he was very heavily linked as well.
Yeah, he was.
And then obviously more recently, this thing with Mendes. I don't know, because he's rejected, or was said to have not even considered these sort of jobs before. So I'm not 100% sure what has changed. Unless things behind the scenes have sort of gone a little bit sour, because Wolves aren't, especially the last 2 windows, haven't really spent the money that we were spending beforehand. And if Nuno is just not enjoying it anymore, he seems, to be honest, without being rude to him, he seems quite miserable at the moment at the club. And Arsenal, obviously, a team in European football, which I think long term, that's what Nuno wants to be doing regularly, being a manager of a team in European football. So Arsenal is such a glamorous, job, really. I'd say, you're in London, you've got a massive fan base, a massive club. So if they came calling whilst Wolves were down in sort of 14th and Arsenal was sort of, got such a good squad, I think it'd be daft to not even consider it, to be honest.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Like with Nuno, I think one thing that will have harmed his chances, like you said, is that style of football this season. It's the first time I've really looked at Wolves and thought, you're actually, I've always classed you as quite attractive football that you play, even though it's counter-attack. I remember when we came to Molineux a couple of years ago under Emery, and you smashed us 3-0 midweek. And I remember walking away. I remember I did an interview after the game, and I said to Robbie, I said, I feel like we just played Barcelona. You just ripped us apart that night. And I thought, you don't quite look the same team now, although I don't want to get ahead of myself, because if we get a bad result tonight, I'll look silly saying it. But ahead of the game tonight, what's your general feeling? Are you confident, or are you a bit nervous about it?
To be fair, it's weird because I'm always confident ahead of Wolves games. I don't know what it is, especially over the last couple of months. Even though we've been rubbish, I've always felt confident that Wolves can get something out of the game. Tonight will be an interesting one. We've had some good games against Arsenal since we've been promoted again. I think the record's sort of pretty even, to be fair. Wolves may just possibly edge it, obviously, after our most recent win. But, Arsenal are on the up and Wolves are on the down at the moment. So we just don't know. Wolves, we just don't know what team is going to turn up. And it depends solely on how Nuno lines up and what system he goes for. The last few weeks, he's gone back to the back five. But it's offering nothing going forward. So if we genuinely want to start scoring goals, I think Nuno's got to be ruthless, drop a couple of players that just haven't been up to it, and possibly go with the four at the back, which I think we played against you guys at the Emirates, and it did really well for us.
What's your team news for tonight? Do you know are there any players injured? Anyone coming back?
Yeah, so obviously Jimenez is still out injured, but it looks like it's quite positive on that front. I think we'll see him before the end of the season, possibly by maybe the start of next month. As soon as that, it's
That's amazing.
he's done really well.
I honestly thought he'd be out for the season with that. I thought there's no way he'll play.
Yeah, he's back in training anyway, so he's keeping fit at the moment, but obviously sort of solo training, and hopefully he'll be back with the team soon, which will be amazing, a big plus for Wolves. But we brought back Patrick Catrone on. He was out on loan in Italy. We brought him back, and the club said we'll keep him for the rest of the season. We signed Willian Jose saying that Catrone go again. which leaves us with 2 strikers again. So it makes me think maybe Jimenez is back a lot sooner than people expect. Johnny Otto is still out, but again, he's going to be back very soon. But I think this game is a bit too soon for him. And then our I'd say other 3 players that could play left back for us. Marcel is out injured. Ryan Ait-Nouri is out injured, and Romain Saiss, who's played a couple of games, is out injured as well. So we're without quite a few players, to be fair. So it'll be quite intriguing to see how Nuno sets up.
Are all your attacking players then pretty much available? Neto and Podence, and what's your thoughts on William Jose, by the way, quickly as well?
Yeah. He looked all right against Palace, to be fair. Yeah, he came on for the last sort of half an hour against Chelsea. Obviously, didn't have to do much, to be fair. Just sort of sat back and just linked up the play. And against Palace, he was all right. The chances that we had when we actually wanted to get the ball in the box, he got some good attempts on target. On another day, I think both of them would have ended up as goals because I think there were 2 good saves from the Palace keeper. His link-up play was good. He had a couple of ropey passes, but other than that, he brought other players. He brought the wingers into play. But we just need him to get to do that sort of on the edge of the box rather than on the halfway line like we were doing on Saturday.
Yeah. So where do you think Arsenal? I know you don't want this to happen, but where do you think Arsenal can hurt Wolves tonight?
Well, our defence is just all over the place at the moment. So it depends how he starts. If he starts with the back 5, I think I've kept pinpointing our wing backs as weak areas at the moment. If he does start with a back 5, I think it'll be Nelson Semedo moved over to the left and Keanu Hoover, who's a young lad we bought from Liverpool, on the right-hand side. Both good players. I'm not denying that, but just defensively at times, especially if we look to attack, I think they're going to get found out a little bit down those wings. And our back 3 at the moment, regardless of who plays, just keep getting found out. We're just so leaky, just make silly mistakes, quite rash as well. I think, we're giving away quite a few penalties, which is disappointing at the moment. So I think down those wings, Arsenal can really cause us some problems.
Yeah, do you know what? I've been surprised by Semedo. That was somebody that I actually thought maybe Arsenal should have looked at. And then I've seen him, I thought, defensively looks a little bit suspect to me, Semedo.
Yeah, to be fair, the last couple of weeks he's looked a lot better, especially that game against Chelsea where we just sort of shut up shop.
Yeah,
he looked all right, and he made it difficult for Chelsea, to be fair. And against Palace he was okay, but I was thinking he was going to be like much better than Doc in terms of bombing up and down the wing, getting a lot more balls into the area and getting on the end of stuff. And he's not really. I'm not even sure if he's got a goal or assist so far this season. But again, it's another one of those, coming across to a new country, and just not being able to sort of do anything. To be fair, he only lives around the corner from me, so I see him. But
really?
He's always, he can't go anywhere, can he? He's just training, home, match, home. That's it for him, really. You're not able to travel around England or speak to people. So, I think as soon as the fans are back, Wolves are going to be one of the teams in the Premier League that are going to sort of really appreciate that. I think that they're really missing the fans in the stadiums.
Yeah, definitely. Over 750 of you in here. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button, go and check out Talking Wolves as well. Let's finish off with a combined 11. I mean, it's a lot more difficult because we've both been so bad this season,
Yeah.
We'll just do 4-3-3 maybe.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Let's start with the keepers.
Well, I did one of these yesterday and I managed to get 5 Wolves players into a lineup. So I'm hoping I can try and do the same. Yeah.
I think it's got to be Leno.
Yeah, to be fair, I'll put Leno in this.
A great season for us, man.
Yeah. Patricio has been, I don't want to say poor, but not as good as he has been. He's dropped a couple of mistakes this year and we're just not keeping the clean sheets that we were doing. So I'm happy to put Leno in there.
Yeah, and take that. Semedo in Tesco.
Yeah.
Right back then, would you still go with Semedo? I mean, we've got Bella in who.
This is one of the positions I think I won just about. I think I'd probably put Semedo in. I remember the last time when I spoke to a couple of Arsenal fans, Bellerin wasn't, everyone's, favourite player. So I think that's probably still the case. So I managed to sneak Semedo in there. I think I'd stick with Semedo.
We have got Cedric, but he hasn't played many games. That's the only thing. Rod said not putting a keeper in with the number 11 shirt. Where does that number 11 come from for the goalkeeper, man? What's that all about?
Basically, obviously, our old goalkeeper, Carl Hakimi, he had leukemia and had to retire. And when they came in, he says, I don't want to wear the number 1 shirt. But I don't really get why they picked the number 11. They could have picked like 31 or something like that, which is more traditional sort of goalkeeper shit. But yeah, all the goalkeepers had 11, 21 and 31. So it's a bit random for a goalkeeper. I can understand why people don't really get it.
Yeah. Left back, I think we take that one with Kieran Tierney.
Yeah, I'm happy to go Tierney on that. Left backs this season especially just haven't been fantastic. And I think Tierney's, finally getting Premier League football a lot more now. He's really excelled this year.
Although he's injured for tonight, so he's not playing. So that's a big loss, Centre backs. Who's your best centre back? Really, is it Cody, Willy Bolly?
Nah, not a back. Well, if we're going with back four as well, I wouldn't put Cody. Probably Bolly on his day. Bolly's up there.
He's quite solid, isn't he? Aggressive defender.
Big guy, yeah. I'd probably go with Bolly. Yeah. Bolly and one of your boys at centre half.
I'll go Gabriel. He got Player of the Month 3 months in a row. He might not even play tonight either. He's been playing Louise and Rob Holding, but we'll go Gabriel and Bolly then. Someone saying here you don't rate Cody because I saw Cody being. There was rumours of Liverpool coming in for him. Is he not that good then?
He's been poor this season. Obviously, we got a England call up at the start of the season, and that's when Southgate sort of reverted back to that back five. He's been, especially the last few weeks, man. He's been really, really poor. He's almost like more lightweight Harry Maguire with in terms of how he's turning and stuff like that. He's just so slow on the turn and quite rash as well. Like I was saying earlier, giving away a lot of penalties. Cody just making one or two too many mistakes really for Wolves at the moment.
Yeah. Let's go into the midfield then. Midfield 3. When we do midfields, basically, I just say, give me Thomas Partey and then we'll just kind of deal with the rest because we ain't got much else. So
I'd say Partey, Neves in there, and then
it's a bit of a, I don't know. I mean, we got Smith Rowe. And we've just signed Odegaard as well, but we obviously haven't seen much.
Haven't seen him. If you had to pick, obviously without seeing him, I think Odegaard would probably go in there. I think he'd probably go in there. But
I'd like to think I'd go Odegaard. Although it's a bit harsh on Smith Rowe because I've actually seen him perform. But
he's been I wouldn't on current form. I probably wouldn't back any of our other centre mids to get in that. To be fair,
and I ain't gonna pick Granit Xhaka or El Neni anyway. I'll probably give it to Smith Rowe just for the fact that I've seen him doing it. Odegaard, we're not sure yet, so we go Neves, Smith Rowe, Thomas Partey. That's not a bad. You know what? I wouldn't mind taking Ruben Neves off Wolves. I'm telling you, he's not a bad player. I wouldn't mind him. The front three. This is an interesting one, isn't it? Because Aubameyang has not been good.
Yeah, on the predicted lineup I did with someone yesterday, he said he put Aubameyang as a left winger, so it was hard for, as in I had to pick out of Aubameyang or Neto. So I said, I'll swap to a 4-4-2. So I let Aubameyang go up front in the end. But I'd probably say Neto on the left at the moment. Left. If I had to give a front three straight away, Neto on the left, probably Saka on the right.
Yeah,
and then striker probably Aubameyang or Jimenez probably.
I would probably go Neto, Saka, and I mean Aubameyang hasn't even done his best work at Arsenal through the middle, really. But I would still just pick him because of what he's done and he's won the Golden Boot and that. I do like Jimenez though as a central striker. I have to admit, I do like him, but I would probably just go Aubameyang because of the goals. You'd probably go Jimenez, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I think they both offer different. Aubameyang, he can be rapid, can't he, as well? And I don't know. I think they both have different qualities for sort of a striker or centre forward. And like you say, Aubameyang's played a little bit more on the left hand side as well. But I could see both arguments really. But that's it. I think I've got a decent amount of players in that team anyway.
You got a few. I'll give you some. You got Semedo, Bolly, Neves, Neto. Yeah, so you got 4 on this, which isn't bad for an Arsenal channel. You know what I mean?
I'll take
that. So what's your prediction for the game?
I think it's going to be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how Wolves line up and how Arsenal, play as well. I'm hoping Wolves go for it a little bit more. I think the fans will be so disappointed if we just shut up shop, especially at home. I know, obviously, we haven't got the fans there, but Hopefully, in a familiar environment, we might go for a little bit more. But if I have to put a score prediction on it, I'll probably go with a 1-1. That's probably my heart saying that rather than my head. Yeah.
See that makes me feel optimistic, because most fans, from any team, they come on and just say, we're going to beat you, we're going to beat you. So if you're saying 1-1, I know you're not happy with
my go-to normally is 2-1 Wolves, but I thought I can't be set. I'll go a little bit more safe with a 1-1 today.
Do you know what? I think for Arsenal, this is an absolute must-win game. I think we have to beat you tonight. If we've got any hope of achieving anything, we need to beat. We got Aston Villa away on the weekend, which is a tough game. Then we've got the likes of we play Leicester, Manchester City this month as well, and Leeds, and obviously Europa League. So for me, we've got to win tonight. We have to win. I'm gonna go 2-1. 2-1's a very safe scoreline, isn't it? It's
both teams to score, but still to win, mate. Yeah, that's the safest one, I reckon.
I'm going to go 2-1. I mean, we beat you there last year, but obviously you beat us earlier in the season, so it's a tricky one. I mean, I'm not sure if Aubameyang's playing either tonight.
Yeah, I know you guys have got a couple of doubts, but it just depends. I think which version of both teams turns up. I think Wolves have just been so inconsistent, and probably Arsenal as well. You don't know which sort of style or team's going to turn up. Who would play at left back if Tierney's out?
I think he'll be Cedric. He'll be Cedric. Play Bellerin on the right, but I think most Arsenal fans, they're desperate for Cedric to go to right back and Tierney at left back. But Tierney's injury prone. He just keeps getting these little injuries, and very frustrating.
Would Maitland-Niles not have been all right, like backup for fullbacks, or is he much better as a wing back?
I mean, listen, you guys nearly signed him, and I think we've managed him very poorly. We rejected an offer from you in the summer because the manager said he wanted to play him. He's hardly kicked a ball this season, and then he goes on loan to West Brom.
I don't understand that loan move at all.
I mean, apparently,
there's a big chance he's going to have a relegation on his CV straight away. And for Arsenal, his value is just going to shoot down.
Said the same thing. Leicester wanted him, but they wanted to buy him, and I think Arsenal said no. And then Southampton wanted him, but what I've read, Southampton wanted him to play right back, and he wants to play centre midfield. I think West Brom have said you can play centre midfield because they're desperate.
Play wherever you want. Yeah,
he's going to go there. He's going to go there. They're going to get relegated. Gareth Southgate will probably ignore him because he'll be like, "You're not playing for England when you just lost every week."
And especially before the Euros, isn't it? It's a weird move before the Euros, isn't it?
Weird move, is it? I think they've totally mismanaged it. I would have tried to get 20 million for him in the summer from Wolves, because you had a bit of money with Jota going and that. Bad situation. But listen, 900 people in here. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go and check out Dave on Talking Wolves as well. I'm going to start the live stream a little bit earlier tonight because a lot of people are asking about the transfers and stuff. Obviously, Arsenal did quite a lot of business yesterday. So I'll be on at 5 o'clock tonight for the watch-along. You're not doing a watch-along. Do you do a reaction video or anything?
Yeah, I'll just do the reaction videos, and then I like to get the fans react as well. Some crazy fans sometimes send their thoughts in after the game. Lots of Nuno outs and Nuno ins on there. So if we lose today, I dread to think what's going to be said on there as well.
Oh my days! No, I appreciate you coming on, Dave. Everyone, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button on the way out. Take care, everyone. Bless.